All right, our last video for the chapter. Awesome. So we're going to interpret data frequencies in this video. So a random sample of spectators entering a stadium were asked whether they were cheering for the Bears or the Tigers in a championship game. Obviously the Tigers, right? Okay. The sample was categorized according to gender and team. So here's our table over here. We can see that there were 72 males cheering for the Bears. There's 65 males cheering for the Tigers, a total of 137 males. Same thing for the females. We can see total number of people cheering for the Bears, total number of people cheering for the Tigers, total number of people. So this is a frequency table. It's a two-way frequency table because we've got who they're cheering for across the top, and then male versus female across the bottom. A relative frequency table would be if these were all percentages, all right? Percentages out of the 230. A conditional relative frequency would be if we took, we had 72 males out of 137 males chose for them. Or we had 72 males out of the total people cheering for the Bears. So a conditional is when you put that condition on it. You're no longer dealing with the total amount of people. You're looking at a subset of that. Okay, so quick little review of some of that. Let's answer our first question. What does the joint relative frequency 65 over 600 over 230 represent in this context? Okay. So we have 65 over the 230. So we can see that the 65 is the number, that's a joint frequency right here, because it's the joint of people cheering for the Tigers that are also male. So that's a joint frequency. This 230 is our total right here of the total number of people surveyed. So I guess these are students. Total students surveyed. So what does that joint relative frequency mean in this context? So 65 males cheered for the Tigers. So 65 out of 230 represents the ratio of male Tigers fans to the total number of people surveyed. All right. Our next question, what does the conditional relative frequency? So conditional means we're no longer going to look at the total number of people. We're going to look at a subgroup of that. So conditional relative frequency, 49 over 93 represent in terms of this context. So let's find the 49. So 49 are our females that cheered for the Bears. If we divide that by 93, that's our total number of females. So what we're figuring out is out of all of the females, 49 people were cheering for the Bears. So if we write this kind of like we did over here, we get the ratio of female Bears fans, so that's the 49, to the number of female surveyed, 93 total female surveyed. All right, and then our last question. So it's the same thing. Random sample of spectators entering a stadium were asked whether they were cheering for the Bears or the Tigers in a championship game. What does the conditional, so remember, as soon as we see the word conditional, we're no longer dividing by a total. We're looking at a subgroup. What is the conditional relative frequency? And relative means we're going to look at a percentage of that, how it relates to the whole or to the whole subgroup. What does that represent in this context? So if we look at our table, we're going to find 72 and 137. So 72 is our number of males that cheered for the Bears out of, I already forgot what it was, 137. 137 is our total number of males. So just like we wrote on the last two, what does that represent in this context? So how we would write that out, 72 is the number of males Bears fans, so it's the ratio of male Bears fans to whatever's on the bottom, the number of males surveyed.